Scott's on mute. Sorry, I was trying to adjust something.
Do you mind if we pray first?
Sure. Go ahead.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for the story that you have given us, the story of Jesus, and the story you've put on our hearts to tell, and the story that you've given us to live. Lord, help us to always, in everything that we do, pursue the truth, because we know that that's going to bring us closer to you, and help us not to be led astray as we live our story, and not be the victim of someone else's story. Help us to have a constructive conversation and ease Gabriel's concern. Lord, bless this time in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So what's bothering you?
David Solomon.
Yeah.
And as I'm pretty sure you will know by now, David is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with what's going on. I'm concerned of some of the things that I've been told. I'm concerned of some of the things I've heard. And I'm concerned about you, Scott. I won't lie. I'm concerned of some of the questions you've been asking and the evidence you've been asking for and how you've asked these questions.
Help me understand.
Well, I was talking to Amanda and Scott, and not Scott, I was talking to Amanda and David the other day, and Amanda was telling me of how a specific subject came up about a specific industry, if you get my meaning, of something that was going on, and you spoke to her asking for original emails of this thing, because the ones she sent you were forwarded, and yet these are the same. They are still the original emails. They just have been forwarded to other people as evidence that she has these emails. I find that very concerning.
What is concerning about asking for original emails?
Because she gave you the original emails. But
no, when an email is forwarded, and like there's a screenshot, right? You can take a screenshot of the original email. So I guess you're contacting me on behalf of David and Amanda, I saw that?
Yes, and and there's one other thing. You've been given a lot of information, David. Scott. Oh my gosh, my names are getting all mixed up. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
You seem a little confused.
Scott, you've been given a lot of information. I've told you some things. David's told you some things. Amanda's told you some things. And there are other people on Realm that know about this, that know what's going on, have a great, deep understanding. And
well, explain that. Explain what a great, deep understanding means. Like, what great, deep understanding does anyone have other than David and Amanda? And Bryan, they all have a great, deep understanding of what's going on from their perspective. Everyone else is really just listening, am I right?
No. You see...
Well, then help me understand what more there is to understand.
There are people who understand, there are people that hear, and there's people that know. And so, my question to you, Scott, is what more information? How much more information must you have? How much more evidence must I, David, and Amanda, and maybe others have to give you before you're willing to see with your own eyes that Bryan Davis is a dangerous man? Have you heard of his book, The Warrior?
Tell me about it.
I've never read it, but I've been told that David... Excuse me?
Go ahead.
I've been told that a young boy who read The Warrior, one committed suicide. And another...
Who wrote The Warrior?
Bryan Davis.
Where does it exist?
That is a good
question. So you're giving it... I mean, I've gotten about...
Search for the Astral Dragon.
Oh, I know the Search for the Astral Dragon. Is it in that... Is it... That's one of his newer books. You said The Warrior.
Yeah. But here, let's just for argument's sake, let's look at the Astral Dragon.
What's the purpose of this call?
You want me to give it to you straight?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, it's hard to find that.
All right, fine. I'm going to give it to you straight. You have too much information, and you're not doing anything.
I don't have any information that isn't publicly available on YouTube. Anything I've been given is in all these videos.
Bryan Davis.
What am I supposed to be doing?
Bryan Davis is a part of Realm Makers, Scott. You're no fool. I know you're not a fool. You built Realm Makers from the ashes of, I think it was once called, what was it? Wonder something. After the Wonder Day, was it? I believe.
That is nothing that I understand what you're talking about. You're trying to tell me what we built Realm Makers off of, and you're wrong.
Holy Worlds. There we go. Holy
What?
World. You built Realm Makers after Holy Worlds fell apart because of its original owner.
Well, you'd have to talk to Becky about what Holy Worlds is. I have no idea what that is.
Really?
Yeah, this was nothing that came from anything else. Do you understand? I don't know, you're hearing from somebody else what we built Realm Makers on, and what you're saying isn't true.
Is it?
No.
Do you know Becky knows David Solomon?
Becky does not know David Solomon.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I distinctly remember David telling me that your wife knew David's mom.
Really?
Yeah.
So David is telling you
Through Facebook.
Becky knows David's mom. Right now, I am just accumulating information, right? What I am doing is getting all the information I can, verifying any statement or fact that I can verify, and intentionally withholding my inclination to draw any conclusions based on any preconceived notions, friendships, understandings, or anything. Just going from the information that I'm hearing. And I'm making a list. This is an accusation, finding the verification. This is a statement that was made, and verifying that statement. And I'm keeping it very, very cold. keeping my opinion about anything. When I say cold, I mean just not applying my own, what I might think is true, from coloring what it is that I do, how I proceed, what conclusion I draw. So I'm trying to get close to the truth. And truth is sometimes hard to find, but sometimes there's truth that's verifiable. And so you're telling me that David has shared with you that Becky knows David Small. Is there more? Is there more to that?
Not that I can recall at the moment, but Scott, I have to ask you, why? You're asking us for all this information on Bryan Davis, and yet you very quickly, I might add, really went at Amanda about this particular subject.
What are you talking about going really at Amanda? How do you mean?
It's almost as if you were putting her on trial, when it's almost as if you're putting her on trial. I've seen the screenshots of what you said to her. I've read them.
What I said to her. Please tell me.
Allow me. One moment. Okay. Pay for that stuff. Okay, hold on. That was me. Okay. That is certainly a lot to go through. May I ask for screenshots of the original email message you referenced of the images above? Each of these are forwarded emails. I don't see what's wrong with the forwarded emails, if you want my honest opinion. And you have mentioned your last statement that Bryan harassed you. What example are you referring to as harassment? I want to associate the correct message with your claim of harassment. Scott.
She said, after he harassed me is when I started reviewing his books, because he came after my son. So I said, what of the, just giving a lot of information up there. And so I'm asking which, I'm trying to draw the assertion to the correct message. Like, how is he harassing you? Because you're asking me why I'm asking all this information. Because
I am.
David came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I missed that message. And then he came back 2 days later saying, this is getting more urgent. So I'm like, what's going on? And he's making accusations. And now I see it's been going on for years and years and years. Like, oh my gosh, I've never heard anything about all this stuff. So I need to make a determination about what's true. And you can't do that without asking for information that is, getting closer to the truth. With a forwarded email, you can edit that. So it's not really evidence of anything at all. Once you forward it, you can retype everything that was under there. So in order to take the emails as evidence, you kind of need to see the original list. That's what I asked for.
I agree with that.
That's what I asked for.
I understand that.
And if getting closer to the truth results in this kind of pushback,
no, this is not.
That's concerning. And the fact that she couldn't just respond, like I've got a dialogue going with Amanda, dialogue going with David.
Well,
and,
I also
they're putting you into this.
No, sir.
And
they did not.
No, sir.
Oh, no, they didn't put me into this.
Well, let me ask you a question and answer me honestly.
Okay.
Will you be honest with me?
Of course, sir. I'd rather be honest.
Are you recording this call?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh. Who asked you to record this call?
That was my decision.
Who asked you to contact me?
Nobody. That was my decision.
Then how did you know about, like, they're sending you screen captures of my message to them, just asking them clarification, like it's a new problem. Like they don't want to provide an original email or a screenshot of an original email. So that's up to them. If they want to come to me with this major concern and literally at least 25 accusations, and that's not counting. I think I'd count more than that if I went through everything that they've shared in their messages. I need to follow up on these, and I need to determine where the truth is coming from. I haven't made that determination yet.
Did you not watch the YouTube videos?
I watched a lot of YouTube videos, yeah.
On Bryan Davis and what he has to say about David Solomon.
What have you seen that Bryan Davis said about David Solomon that I
The Harvest interview.
The Harvest interview was an interview. Didn't say anything at all about David Solomon. It wasn't about David Solomon. It was like Christian news.
Scott, I don't go on YouTube anymore at all.
The Harvest interview is an interview. And David and Solomon, that wasn't even part of the interview. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
It talks about Bryan Davis. He goes behind minors' parents' back and talks about porn and cutting. Do you not find that concerning? Why would someone like Bryan Davis...
Well, and listen, I watched that video, and he was talking on a Christian news organization that he has... Now, you're kind of young. Are you old enough to remember forums? Like pro boards?
No, I don't think I'm familiar with that.
Before there was chat, before there was, so you'd go to a website and you'd have forums where people could ask questions.
Yes.
Because they want to know about somebody, right? So it was just forums. You'd have subjects, people could ask questions, and you could answer. It was a way authors interacted with their audience. And that's how he interacted with his audience. He talked about the forums that these kids would ask him questions on. And, you're not necessarily in control of what questions they're asking you. But he said, these kids will talk to me about, the problems they're having. Pornography, cutting, these things that they're, they don't know who to talk to about them. And he said he spends like 10 to 15 hours a week on these forums talking to these kids. They're his forum. Like, they go to his website.
That concerning?
Well, would it be concerning if the child went to a minister? Or a counselor? Do children
Bryan Davis
speak to people at church?
Is not a counselor. Bryan Davis
he's an author.
Is not a.
He's an author.
He is an author.
So I understand what you're saying, and I understand that he said, private messages with some of these kids that have questions, and that was a statement that he made, and I've documented that, and that's one of a number of things that I'm kind of documenting. I mean,
Let me ask you another question. Why would someone as big as Bryan Davis is go after David Solomon?
how big do you think Bryan Davis is, and how when it comes to going after David Solomon, I'd love for you to share your understanding of how Bryan Davis has gone after David Solomon. I know what I've read, I know what I've watched and everything, but
he did a 2-hour video that's on YouTube describing about how he went after David Solomon, how he stalked him.
I'd love to see that video. Maybe that hasn't been sent to me. But a video that Bryan did. He did an interview, or he did...
I think he did more than an interview. On TikTok, Bryan Davis was telling people to go after David Solomon.
That's a piece of information I'd like to have a link to. That's why I'm asking these questions. Like, if an accusation is made, I want to find it.
And you know what? I agree with that.
I'm just going to just listen, right? And believe.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to just listen and believe. I'm going to verify.
And how did you become a Christian?
Don't equate David with Jesus.
No, okay. I'm not. No.
Yeah.
No. Don't misunderstand me, please. I would never equate David as Jesus.
Okay, so let's talk about someone that is a person and is making an accusation. In no matter who it is, you determine what the truth is before you take action. Otherwise, you're just acting on a rumor.
Well, not just because it's a rumor, that doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, I don't know what's being told to me is true until I can verify pieces. So I'm looking for what I can verify, what I can find, what's substantiated.
What if I told you you literally have all the information you need? Literally, Bryan Davis is telling you with his smiling lips what he has done to David Solomon, what he does to children. You've seen those videos. And
No. Show me that video.
All right.
What you're saying, he's saying with his lips what he's done to those children. Show me that.
All right.
I'm going to drill all the way down to the bottom, to the foundation of any allegation.
All right.
I'm not believing Bryan's statements. I'm not believing anyone's statements. I'm listening.
All right. So, Scott, I want to make a deal with you.
No, I'm not going to make any deal.
Hold on. Just listen to what I have to say first, please. I'm going to have David Solomon send you the YouTube video because I don't know where to find it, and I do not go.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some YouTube videos. If one of the ones they sent me is the one you're referring to,
it probably is. You'll have to look at it. It's the Angel channel.
The Angel channel. Yeah, I don't.
And maybe what you need to do is call David.
I've had a lot of communication from David via the realm sphere.
You know,
and he needs a lot of communication throughout the realm sphere, and access to folks, and so I'm just going to continue communicating the way we are communicating, and trying to drill down to what's true. Writing down the accusations and equating that to the verification. And I'm not going to accept anyone on their word. how you go about finding the truth, by believing something and then proving the other one is false, right? You could prove anything is true, right? The scientific method is to prove that what you believe is false. And when you fail, well, now you know it's true, right? If you want to believe something is true, you can easily prove it's true even if it's false. But if you try to prove it false and fail, well, you can have a lot more confidence about your assertion that it's true. And that's why I'm a Christian. Answer your other question.
All right.
That's how C.S. Lewis became a Christian. He tried to prove it false and failed.
I'm very well of the story of the reluctant convent. C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite authors.
I'm ignoring what I might, as a person, want to be true in pursuit of what provably is true.
And, I can't say disagree with that, because I myself have the mind of an investigator, wanting to know the answers. But here's my question. When exactly, and I'm not asking for an exact time frame, I'm asking more for how much more information must you have? How much more must you see, hear, watch every single video, read every single email, all this, look through the report files, look through the police investigations, look through all of that? Will only then you be satisfied? Or will you still question? Because
maybe you wouldn't be shocked at how much information Amanda sent to me. You think it's unreasonable to ask 2 questions?
Yes. No, I don't think
that's why we're on the phone. It's why we're on the phone, because either Amanda and or David thought my questions were unwarranted. Or
no, that's not why we're on the phone. We're on the phone.
That's why they sent you a screenshot of my question to them.
No, it's not the question, Scott. The question.
Am I incorrect? Am I incorrect that you said that they sent you a screenshot of my message to Amanda? That's what you said at the beginning of our call, and you read it back to me.
Yes.
Oh, you're saying no? I'm not incorrect.
No, you're not incorrect. You're not incorrect.
Yeah.
Your questions are valid, reasonably so. But
they weren't met with an answer.
Repeat that one more time, please.
But they weren't met with an answer. You agreed that the questions were reasonable, but they weren't met with an answer. They were met with screenshotting them, sending them to you calling me, recording the call, so you can report back to them whatever it is that I say. This is it's completely blown out of proportion.
Is it?
Yeah. When you send someone, are you familiar? So the reason I want, did I already share the reason I want original emails rather than the forwards?
Yes, you mentioned why, and I understand it.
And that's so if those can't be provided, then that's a piece of information that I can understand.
Scott, I'm concerned.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you why I'm concerned. I have an acute sense of an ability to know when people are dangerous. just by looking at them. I found out that there's an actress that I saw in a movie when I was a child that I told my parents, I said, there's something wrong with her. There's an evil about her. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but I was right. She turned out to be a Satan prophetess. I've seen Bryan Davis's picture. That man is not good. There are children on the realm sphere, on the realm makers. Children that trust you to find people to write with, find other authors like themselves that are trying to get published. And there's a man in there that wants to hurt them. I'm concerned that my friend's son is in danger of being taken by this man who has threatened to do it. Sent a man to my friend's house to take his son. If you ask, David Solomon has a recording on that. He has evidence.
That would be good information to share.
Then I recommend go asking him.
You recommended I stop. How much more information do I need? I'm asking questions, and I'm getting pushback now.
No, this isn't pushback. If I wanted to give you pushback, I would say, why don't you accept what we're saying?
But you wouldn't be the one to give pushback. You weren't who the question was aimed at. I don't know why I'm talking to you about this.
Because you won't answer David's messages. He's trying to contact you.
What are you talking about?
David wants to talk to you.
Oh, he's with you?
Yes.
Sure.
Go on, David.
Hello, Mr. Miner. How are you?
I'm feeling a little, this is underhanded.
Well,
I'm not doing very well right now.
I understand that. My wife sent you a lot, and I need to know, because I have all the evidence. I'm ready to send you everything. I have police reports. I have recordings. I have no problem saving children's lives on Realm Spear. That's what this is about. I'm a father, and I'm fighting for my son's life. Okay? And I'm fighting for the kids on Realm Spear. And this man, okay, he does not do that. I don't want what happened to me happen to other kids on the realm. That's why I'm here. You can look at me as a bad guy. I'm willing to put my entire career. Every writer knows right now that I've been trying to talk to you about this. I have had so much prayer about how to handle this. I fasted about how to handle this. It's made me sick inside to hide this from you since I joined Realm, actually. And it was God that told me to join Realm in order to try to be a light. So I'm here to be a light. I have a lot of writers, actors who follow me, who I work with, and I'm trying to restore Christian fiction to a world that doesn't want it. But I have a monster who's been making our life a living nightmare, as my wife can attest. But not only that, I have others that will too. So right now, I plead to you as a father of Ryan and as to a representative of other children out there. What do you need? What do you want? And I will give it to you, and you can make the determination. But as a parent, hear me when I say this. My mom, her dying wish was to bring Bryan to prison for what he did to me. I'm not here for vendetta. I'm not here for vengeance. I don't want harm to come to him. I want children to be protected. And I want you to know that this man hurts those children. What do you need? And I will give it to you happily.
So what you're accusing Bryan Davis of,
Yes, sir.
you need police reports. You said you contacted them.
I do.
Requested it.
Yes.
And they're going to release it. So.
And there's multiple. And I am happy to share that. This was reported since day one when Bryan and James took me. It has been reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And now, I don't know if you know.
Was Bryan there when you were taken?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He also talks about that in the interview. I don't know if you watched the YouTube interviews or not.
I've watched quite a bit. Okay. But when something is like that is said, I'm like, I didn't hear that. Which one is that in?
Okay. So Angel talks...
Like, what interview does he talk about having done that?
Oh, okay. So Angel talks too fast. It's an hour in, and he goes into detail about when I was taken. Okay? But then another interview, and I can send you the link. I think I'm listening to at least one Angel talks too fast. Okay, there's multiple.
James is the one who is saying, like, yeah, we picked him up. Yeah, we had a white van.
Yeah, so there's multiple.
But we didn't take him to Canada.
Right. Okay, it's in that one. That's the idea, yeah. It's an hour in. But there's multiple of that. Now, James was there. James is Bryan's right-hand man, okay? He's a very dangerous individual. And I know for a fact that he's trying to get on Realm, by the way, just so you're aware. I can't change...
James?
Yep. I can't change...
There's no such thing as trying to get on there, and just answer the questions.
Well, he's talked about it. I know that. Openly on TikTok.
So you're just listening to his TikTok?
Yeah, he openly talked about it. When he talked about me, he said, "I'm trying to join the realm sphere, but I don't know how that will go because I did tell the people."
Making sense.
Yeah,
I really want to know where that is because
that's on TikTok.
Conversation with just on give a link to that.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just in the beginning of my conversation with Gabriel, like you were listening.
Yeah, I did not tell him to call you, just so you're aware.
He knows your mother?
Yeah, she did. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess, what's your mother's name?
My mom, before she died, was Sapphira, and they messaged on Facebook quite frequently. My mom was a Christian author, and she belonged to a group...
What's her last name?
Soldier, Soldir.
Saphira?
Yeah, she was in chemo, and she did message Becky. I remember that because I looked at my mom's...
Within Holy Worlds?
Yeah. And I know Becky...
Holy Worlds was.
Yeah, Holy Worlds was before Realm. It was a prequel to Realm. In fact, 90% of your members are from Holy Worlds. We know each other. A lot of us.
Yeah, there are a lot of members of Realmmakers now, many more than were ever part of any of the things that existed before Realmmakers.
Yep.
Where the sidewalk ends, there's a very small community.
I can say about 80... See, I'm looking at... about 104 of us came from Holy Worlds, put it that way.
Yeah.
And so, we've known each other. Becky, I did talk to a little bit with my mom, She was nothing but nice. Seriously, like what a sweet person. She prayed for my mom. It was nothing but support. My mom was a writer. She was a writer. It was great to see that. I have nothing to say but great things. But she did know my mom. Yes, sir. And if I look on my old Facebook of my mom and me, Becky is on the friends list. Becky Miner.
And she's on Facebook as Sapphira Soldier.
Yeah.
In going through things, you might understandably...
No, I get it.
You might understand that it's hard to follow the names.
Well...
And did I understand that Bryan Davis changed your name?
Yes, sir. And I just confirmed that with the court.
Against your will?
Yes, that was confirmed against...
You weren't aware of it, but Bryan legally changed your name, and he legally changed
my mom's name
without you knowing.
Yes, sir, and it's been confirmed by the courthouse. Yes, sir.
So that would be a really important thing.
Yes, sir.
How is that confirmed? It's an understandably difficult thing to wrap your head around. How can someone else legally change my name?
Yep. So I can tell you how
really
that
crazy things are possible.
I can tell you
that
one.
was with real estate too.
Right. I can tell you one thing. In the video, James and both Bryan and James say that when I took him, I did the paperwork, the guardianship paperwork. Then I found out he wasn't a minor, so I had to do new paperwork to fix that. The paperwork they're referring to is the name change document, which has a forgery on it with a federal address of where my residence was. Now, I was reported missing during this time. On that is not a stamp of approval. So it's a federal crime, as the courthouse put it, if found guilty, which it very well could be now. I'm going to tell you, the name change was Solomon O. David Soldier, SOS. At the same time, the documents were also altered Sapphira O. Sarah Soldier. At the same time, Bryan Davis posted on his Facebook that day with James Artville that he drew a character, Sapphira, from the book and stated, "This is for the child that I have. This is a gift for the child's mother who is no longer with us. I will send you that screenshot." Then Bryan talks in the interview and says, and so David's mother apparently chose her name after my character, so clearly she's a fan. James shuts him up and says, well, that's when we did the paperwork. Bryan talks over him and says, anyway, getting back to it.
Well, yeah, but getting the specific points that you're talking about, it's helpful to have.
I know.
It's at this moment in this 2 hour, 3
yes,
hour
it's
video, like this is what I'm referring to.
Yep.
Right. Listening to it, you don't know what to listen for.
Right.
You're just kind of like.
Now this gets a little crazy because Bryan sent someone to hurt my son. I am willing to share that individual because that individual showed up at your realm. You need to know that I contacted the police the day of your realm because he thought Ryan showed up there. Ryan was going to go to your realm. He's a writer, I'm sure you know. Ryan has a book with Thomas Nelson coming out. Everybody on Realm knows. Maybe you don't. Bryan found out.
I'm not aware of the details of,
Yep.
you've mentioned that you're all publishing things.
Yep. So Bryan showed up. And Bryan had someone show up there.
Forgive me, Bryan showed up where?
Bryan Davis at the Realm. You had a conference, a Realm conference. It was in St. Louis. He said, I sent someone to Realm. So I called the police, right, in your town where you had Realm. I told them what was going on. They confirmed the person that showed up that was going to take Ryan. I have his identity. I'm willing to share that with you.
Please do. Because you're saying Bryan Davis showed up.
Yes, he
You're
did.
saying Bryan Davis sent someone.
So
I'm just trying to figure out.
the statements are a little blurry. This is what I got from the police. Okay, I'm going to read you it. So Bryan Davis stated that he showed up at Realm looking for Ryan. Okay, he told someone that.
To whom did Bryan Davis state this?
He told someone that I know. I can share that information too. In fact, you know him.
Yeah, I need a lot more information for me to understand what you're saying is true.
Okay, that's fine. I will get them
You
to
can
reach
just tell
out.
me that Bryan Davis stated something.
Yes.
Right now, I don't know whether he sent someone to Realm Makers or if he showed up at Realm Makers. I've heard both.
Right. So he's.
So it requires me asking more questions.
That's fine.
To get down to what you're saying.
Clarity is fine. That's all I want in the end. Okay. So Bryan Davis stated to someone, in fact, you know him, Richard Douglas, a writing friend of mine, right? I think you know him, maybe not. He's on Realm now. That he was going to hurt Ryan. We have that text.
On the phone, in person, Bryan Davis stated to Richard Douglas.
Yes.
Where was Bryan? Where was Richard?
Richard was in Colorado at the time. And Bryan stated he was at Realm, the Realm Expo. I think there's a picture of Bryan at the Realm where he texted Richard and said, I'm going to hurt Ryan. I'm coming for Ryan. And I'm going to make David pay.
What year was this?
This year.
So 2024.
Yes, this year. This is all this year. Right now. This year.
Because Bryan Davis wasn't on faculty or anything. He wasn't at Realm Makers.
Right.
This year.
So Richard can... yes, so Richard can send that to you. I have no problem.
Just to abduct Ryan.
Yes, sir.
You need to provide absolute information with regard to this.
That's fine.
I've heard a whole lot of you saying stuff like this, and I keep getting more new things without getting police reports or any of this stuff.
That's fine.
Right? And it's just, it's, I'm not going to be overwhelmed with detail to the point where I stop listening.
That's fine.
And to the degree that I keep getting new accusations that are just throw it on the pile, so to speak, prove something.
Let me send you, I'll start with the recordings, okay, of the person that Bryan sent to Realm to hurt Ryan. We'll start there.
Yeah, I need to hear that. Because what I heard that Gabriel sent me yesterday, of you guys on the phone with the book publisher.
Yes.
Like, you mentioned Bryan Davis's name. The other guy just didn't even respond. Didn't that's... Gabriel believes that who he was working with is Bryan Davis's brother, and there's no evidence of that.
I can provide that
Bryan Davis
one.
on Google, you're going to find a country music musician.
I can.
There are people by the same names, especially the last name Davis.
I'm happy to help you with that one, Daniel T. Davis.
I mean, that was easily proved false.
Okay.
Like, well, I guess Gabriel's still on the phone. Like, what was this person's first name?
So Daniel T. Davis.
Like, where does that name exist? On an email, signature?
And Daniel T. Davis is the brother of Bryan, and I am going to be...
But there's no Daniel T. Davis.
I can send you the screenshot.
It goes by Dan.
I'll send you
Dan would never go by Daniel. It isn't even on his birth certificate.
I can send you a screenshot of what I have. That's what I can say to that.
You have a screenshot of Dan T. Davis on Facebook. That's not evidence that a Daniel Davis is the same person as Dan T. Davis.
Okay.
But Dan T. Davis doesn't work at that publisher.
Okay. I'm not going to argue. I'll send what I have.
Daniel Davis, if you ask Daniel Davis, are you Bryan Davis's brother? Like, there's an answer.
Oh, we are going to ask that. That's for sure. That's going to happen.
Right? That's an answer, right? You can't just invoke Bryan Davis's name on a phone call with somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know Bryan Davis, doesn't know any of the names you're throwing out there, and require the evidence to be the fact that he didn't contradict it.
Okay.
Right. So that's an easy one.
Okay. I can send what I have, and that's what I can say there. As far as any accusations, the only reason I want you to be aware right now, okay, is because Bryan has caused our family so much chaos, right, that we are having to hide in LA in a gated community. We are going to have Ryan's book coming out during Christmas. It's going to be a big deal. And I want someone like you to know, in case, because we're going to be at Realms events, in case something happens, because Ryan needs to be in a safe environment. He's going to be surrounded by so many authors. I have so many projects going right now. In fact, you know this.
You messaged me on the 7th, again on the 9th.
Yep.
And on the 9th, things were getting worse.
Yes.
Somebody was actively bullying you and harassing you.
Yes.
And I haven't heard what was happening right now. Like, what was happening, like, right then?
Yeah.
Bryan Davis,
So
you're saying, is causing chaos in
yes.
your life where you have to be in hiding. Well, why is that? What has he done? Like, I've heard that he did a TikTok video 10 or 11 months ago.
Yep.
I haven't seen that. He doesn't have TikTok, so it must have been somebody else's.
No, Bryan Davis does have TikTok. I can send you that. I can send you that.
Yeah, I would need, like, I couldn't search TikTok by Bryan Davis and find that Bryan Davis.
It's not under
right?
It's not under Bryan Davis, it's
So,
under Dragons in Our Midst. Yes. He has a TikTok.
I wasn't searching for that. That's just one title of the books that he has.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So I would want a link to that.
That's fine.
I want you to say what he's doing, as opposed to Bryan Davis is causing chaos such that I need to hide in LA.
Right.
Like what? Like what? Like what is he doing?
Okay.
To cause you chaos now? I understand what you've said.
Yes.
About what's happened in the past. You've said, you know what, that's in the past. But now what's happening is he's going after
Ryan.
son.
That's right. And we've taken protection to do that.
Right?
Yes.
And so I need to know, like, precisely what that is. If it remains just a general, like, Bryan's causing chaos, Bryan is bullying me, he's harassing me.
Right.
I'm going to ask, what? Like, what did he do? Show me that.
Okay.
Where is that? Right? And short of that, I'm not going to be coming to a conclusion until I've gone through all the information I have and haven't found anything compelling.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to go on your word or his word or Amanda's word, and of course I'm not going to buy Gabriel's word. He's just hearing from you. Like, Gabriel isn't involved in this directly, except to the degree that you guys are friends, and he's concerned.
He should be concerned, considering there's an 8-year-old. Yeah.
But you think everyone needs to be concerned, and I just need to hear more specifics when you make accusations, because there are things that I'm hearing that are provably false.
Okay.
Or exaggerating, or, and so if I can go through a bunch of things and go like, well, there's 10 things here that's not true. Like, it's hard to point to something that is.
Okay.
Right?
Let me ask
But
this. Let me ask
I've heard,
this.
The videos that you guys have sent me, like I can, I hear, reading from chapter 5 in one of David's books. Like if you told any author at Realm Makers that I read page 49 in your book, and you're going to accuse them of doing the thing that they wrote in their fiction? Seriously? What author could stand up to being accused of doing the things that they've written in their novel that's a fiction, even a fantasy?
Why is it a children's book? Let me ask that.
Because
Search for the Astro Dragons about a 13-year-old girl being raped. Have you read it?
No, I can't say I've read any of these books because I've got judges to do that, and I'm quite busy.
So it goes into full detail about raping a 13-year-old girl.
Show me where. Show me the page.
Sure.
Goes into detail.
Sure.
About raping a 13-year-old girl.
I can do that.
Go look for that.
I can do that. That I can do.
Know that. When you say it, then I'll hear it, and I'll say, okay, what page is it on? And I will investigate it. But I'm not going to just hear it and believe it.
That's fine.
That's immature and careless.
I wouldn't expect you to. I wasn't born yesterday. I mean, I was.
Well, if you came to me with a few accusations and you proved them, we'd have a different conversation. You come to me with every day. It's more accusations.
Okay.
Right. So, if you're wondering when I'm going to be done asking questions, it'll be after, I guess, I've waited long enough to get all the accusations. Right?
Okay.
So, because they're not stopping. And you're not going to just keep throwing accusations at me until I go, well, I've heard enough.
Okay.
I'd like to find someone else other than because I've got other people who are concerned, but if I ask one question, they're like, well, I only have the word of one person that this is true. And so I'm like, okay, well, then we'll just keep asking questions.
Okay.
Right? So I still have a lot to learn.
Well, I can send you to start with the person that unfortunately showed up to hurt Ryan. I can show you that recording.
Can you say their name? You said you'd tell me their name.
Eric Pinson. Pinson.
Came to St. Louis.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Up Ryan. You thought he could just come and pick up Ryan.
Yes, he did. Yes. On that TikTok, and Bryan, I don't know if you talked to Bryan or not. You probably haven't. On TikTok, Bryan made a video, and he said, and I'm going to quote him, and that's okay if he says, oh, no, I didn't say, no, there plenty of people heard that one. He said, go find him, go hunt him down, and go bring that kid. On that TikTok, it was leaked. Our license plate, my social security number, and my wife's. We will never forget that day.
I haven't seen that.
That's fine. I'm just telling you, it's in the recording. It talks about it in the recording. The person that Bryan sent. In the recording, he talks about Bryan. He says, I couldn't do, well, he uses the F word. He says, I couldn't F up Ryan's life. I couldn't take Ryan. I couldn't take you. And I believe that Bryan hurts children. I believe that Bryan does these evil things. In fact, I know that I worked for the wrong person. I should have taken him out. I'm just being cold with you on what he says. You're going to hear it on the recording. Okay?
So it's an audio recording?
It is. And the police have it too.
Well, anybody could just record saying something. That's not necessarily going to fly in any court as evidence, unless it's on a phone call from a phone number to another phone number.
So when he called,
phone call?
Yeah, when he called, I turned the recorder on, like you and me right now. It was a phone call. It was a phone call.
But it doesn't record the numbers.
Number one, as soon as it was done, we called the police. They did take our phone. They did look at the timestamp. It is in a database, that phone number, that phone call. It is recorded that he called. That's documented.
Yeah. There's just, so the proof that the documented information is not false.
Yes, sir.
Is important, and that's why I asked for if you're going to take a screenshot of an email, take a screenshot of the original email, not a forward. Because a forward, as soon as you hit forward, you could change everything in that email.
May I ask how?
You want it to be. So, and there wasn't a single email that wasn't a screenshot of a forward.
Well, they were all forwarded to police departments, so I'm kind of asking how.
If you would have to forward it and take a screenshot before you were done forwarding it.
Okay.
In order to take a screenshot of that. Right? You would have the email that you could take a screenshot of. When you hit forward and send it, like you can go into your sent messages.
Okay.
And show the forwarded message, but at the moment that you hit forward,
yeah,
you can change every word. You could change the email address, you could change the subject, you could change all the content in a forwarded email before you forward it. And so I'm asking if any of those are evidence of anything. I'd want a screenshot of the original email that was received.
Okay.
And that was a reasonable request. And it seemed,
asking for 27 emails.
Given the conversation we're having right now, it seemed, rather than just asking a question, it seems like
That's the part of the
you're not interested in providing that.
Okay.
Unless I forward it to
Well,
them, there's no way to prove it.
because those have been forwarded to many police departments.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have the thing that was forwarded. You would have the sent, you'd have the sent mail, but you've got the original mail that was sent to you.
I have the originals.
Supposed to be from Bryan Davis.
Yes.
But one screenshot of one of those.
I'm done.
Because the email isn't Bryan Davis's email. The phone numbers and the texts aren't Bryan Davis's phone number.
What are you doing? I'm done.
So
What are you doing?
it makes it
I can't.
So,
difficult to receive as authentic.
okay. So what do you need?
What I asked for is an original email.
Are you
that
going
came
to the
from
pool?
That domain,
No, I'm fucking
from that email address.
No, don't.
No, I cannot take this.
Don't
That
do
email
this.
address
No.
Isn't Bryan Davis. So anybody could create that email address, send it, right? Like, these aren't from his phone number or email.
This is what I'm
Like, there's no
talking
Bryan
about.
Davis author at
I'm accused of a
USA.com
liar.
No.
or whatever
Let it
that
be.
was.
So,
That's not his email address.
So what I can say, the two things I can say there. In the police report, it talks about those emails, okay? And when Bryan was asked about it in one of those interviews, okay, and I can show you that video, he did not deny that he did that. He said, I did contact David at one point by email. He does say that. The problem is I don't run my own emails. See, I'm terrible at emails. Realm I'm good at because it's not email. But because of being trafficked, unfortunately, I suffered a really bad injury. And that was to my brain. I got hurt. So emails and me, computers and me, it's too much. Realm is simple. It's simple. Facebook is less simple.
Yeah.
Okay? So my wife runs everything on email. Okay? Everything. I wouldn't be the author I am if it were not for my wife running my email. Okay? So that's the bottom line. It's I get what you're saying, but that's my wife. That's probably why, honestly, she got so offensive. You know, we've had a lot of legal crap go on because of Bryan right now. I'm going to tell you that. Bryan found our address, right? So, you know, we had to move. We're in LA now. But because of that, there was a consequence. One of those consequences, one of them was Bryan has my social security number. I have to change it now. He's passed it to so many people. I have random people saying, Bryan gave me this. I can send you that too. That's in police reports. So we have documented this from the beginning. I want to point to one thing in that interview, and I challenge you to ask Bryan this if you talk to Bryan. How did he get my social security number and personal ID? Because he states that he got it from his friend at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation who is looking for me because I'm the most dangerous criminal he's known.
Okay, so you can't just throw that out there.
It's on the video.
Please send me the video. And I don't want to have any more of this conversation about what Bryan said.
Okay.
Things like that.
That's fine.
Seeing the video that you're talking about, because I've seen other evidence that doesn't prove what you're saying it results in. Like, you can't read someone's fiction and say, see, here, he admits that he works with the government to do what he does.
Okay.
Because he wrote it in this fiction novel.
Okay, that's fine.
Right? Trying to have that conversation with Stephen King. So you're really a vampire and...
Right.
Like, you can't do that.
Okay.
Don't get me started on Stephen King.
Yeah, we don't have to go there.
No, we don't have to go there. Let me ask this, okay? Because I'm willing to provide anything for you that you need.
Anything you say, David states, in this video, David states, well, I need that.
Okay. That's fine.
Right? And you're even on this phone call, you're mentioning things that, like, haven't been and what have been sent so far. Right?
I will make sure you're sent the right video because I don't know if you're watching the right video.
Well, you sent me hours of videos.
Yep.
And you sent me a lot between you and Amanda.
Yep.
A lot of individual information that contains accusations within the context of a sentence that is a new accusation.
Okay.
You know, like, and some things are just assertions, you know, that you hear that sound outlandish. Like, how with all this stuff is true, that you're saying is true, would it be that you've written some of Bryan's books?
Very true.
How can one hear that and go like, oh yeah, like Bryan's incapable of writing his own books.
I didn't say he was incapable, but I do have the original notebook timed and stamped when that day comes. No problem.
Like, which books of his did you read?
Starlighter, Corin and Jason.
So Starlighter was a series.
Starlighter is book 1. Starlighter is a story world that takes place with 2 books that go at the same time. Adrian was based on me. My mom helped create 2 other characters in it. Yes, I know it very well. And then Bryan took over and wrote Warrior, which Gabriel mentioned some things have happened with Warrior. And then third Starlighter, well, nobody in the Davis family likes to talk about that. Third Starlighter was written about some events that took place. My mom had a lot of anger towards what happened to me, and I think Bryan's wife had a lot of anger. And Bryan did not write Third Starlighter. And if you ever read it, you'll know why. And I did help.
The Third Starlighter was written about some events that took place, but Bryan didn't write it?
No, he did not.
And you didn't write it?
No, I had a hand in it, but my mom was the one that did the plot for that, and Susan edited that book. Yes.
I don't know who Susan is.
Susie is Bryan's wife.
Oh, Susie, okay.
Yeah, she's a real sweetheart. Honestly,
She does all the editing.
She does. She does. She taught my mom everything she knows. Yes. So yeah, I have no problem proving.
So if I may,
go.
Like, you're saying Susie taught your mother everything she knows about
Editing.
writing or editing?
Editing. Yes.
Under what circumstances? Like online?
Yeah. So
person?
Susie.
Like, what
Susie.
were the circumstances
Yeah.
by which Susie would be in a position?
So Susie had cancer, and my mom had cancer, and they were in a group, online and just emails, and I don't know. They did meet up in person a few times. I know that. So, I don't.
The online group, like, because they're in different states.
Yes, I know.
Like, what's the online group that brings them together online?
I think it was like a prayer for cancer group thing. Because they both had cancer. So, they were friends. I mean, I don't know what more I can say on that. They were close friends.
Okay.
I mean...
But you said that Susie taught your mother everything she knows about editing.
Yeah.
So that goes far beyond, like, being in a prayer group together.
Yeah, oh yeah. I know that they did a lot.
That's a large assertion.
Yeah, she wasn't an editor until that point. That's right. Susan taught her a lot. I remember the emails. I never read them, but they were very long. So I can't talk for my mom because she's not here anymore. I can only say that my mom learned a lot from her.
So I don't have to pursue that at all. But it's just, as we talk, more assertions are made, and it's like the question has to come up. Okay,
my mom did write Third Starlighter. I do have her manuscript, and it was written by hand. And that was very painful for her to write. So, it is a very serious story. Like I said, there was a lot of anger towards what happened to me, and that was her way of dealing with it. She had to deal with it somehow, and that's how she dealt with it. You got to understand, Scott, I was homeschooled. I had never been on my own. I trusted Bryan. He was my father figure. I was one of those kids that he messaged a lot. And he adored my writing, and my best friend at the time, who was autistic. And, did he ask for yeah, he did. He did ask for things. And you know what? I'm sorry. I was stupid. Okay? I got it. But when he found out my mom was terminally ill, he asked for our address, and I was stupid enough to give it. And then I was, the rest. I was chloroformed and taken, and...
Right, I'm just hearing this terrible things like that.
That's
right,
it.
And that was when you're an older teenager, right? You're older
yes.
than 18.
I'm just trying to say that...
2 years later, and then you wrote Starlighter.
Third Starlighter was what my mom wrote.
The first book is called you said you wrote.
So Starlighter is the one I wrote. Third Starlighter is the one my mom wrote. 2 different books.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Starlighter came out in 2013.
So Starlighter was written in 2012.
Right. So you were like 2021, am I right?
No, you're wrong.
Well, yeah, so you gotta tell me.
Yeah. So I was taken legally at 18, as he rubs in. So I was 19 when I wrote Starlighter. Legally. The story was inspired by what I went through, if you ever read it. That's what I can say on that.
So how is it that Bryan's name is on it?
If you read through the police report, there was an encounter with my mom that was reported. And there was a confrontation that was reported. And my mom had no choice. And we left with Bryan having that story. And everything was kept at peace. You can read the police report on that.
Well, that would, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would have... I haven't heard a positive interaction between you, but there seems to be a professional relationship, and it's all the same thing.
Before I was taken, there was a positive relationship with Bryan. We go way back. I was about 12. Yeah, I was 12 when I met him. And he took so much interest in me. And my best friend, Kevin, if you ever want to talk to him, he'll tell you. Bryan would message me every day. He would message Kevin every day. He would want to know how my school is, how Kevin's school is, just different things. At first, it was really cool that a Christian author was messaging, kids out of nowhere in rural Oregon. That's kind of cool. But then my mom found it became creepy, and messaging someone at midnight, and it got pretty, over the years, it got a little out of hand. My mom said there needed to be boundaries, and Bryan didn't respect that. And so my mom decided to not respect him. My mom, when we moved, Bryan showed up. He actually contacted my pastor, which was reported in her own words, and I'll send that to you. He had a 4-hour conversation with my pastor about me as if he was my dad. And it was not a nice one. And we decided not to go back to that church after what he said. And so we started going to a new church. And that pastor told Bryan where we were living at the time. And so then Bryan showed up. And my mom and him had an encounter. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. He claimed that he wanted to check on me and make sure I was good and okay. And he signed a book. I still have that book. He signed a book. And my mom said it was inappropriate, to do this, to talk to a pastor, to find out where we were. It was just inappropriate to keep messaging and to politely stay away. I'm sick. I have cancer. Stay away. And I was 18. I was losing my mom. And when he said, I wanted to pray for you, and is it okay if I have someone I know go to you sometime and meet you at a park, which we have the original message, I said, okay. And the rest of what happened to me after that. I don't need to retell that part. So I was naive. And I guess I look at it as, I'm not here for a war. I'm not even here for a trial on Bryan. I want you to know what's gone on and what could go on. And I don't want anyone else on Realm to know except you.
There's a whole history that you say you've had.
Yes,
Bryan
sir.
Davis. And the things that have been provided as communication from Bryan don't seem from Bryan.
Okay.
I need some communication that you say is from Bryan.
That's fine.
It's actually from Bryan. And it doesn't have hallmarks of being falsified.
Okay.
I haven't seen a text or an email yet that is convincing.
I can do that. I can get my mom's...
That's on you.
That's fine. That. That's fine.
Right? I would think you would have already done that. I would have thought. Would have been the first thing out there.
Well, to be fair, you know that we're battling a lot of medical right now because of things, and
well, that's not preventing you from messaging me, pursuing me to tell me this information.
There's a lot of emails.
Right? That's why I'm here.
Right. There's a lot of emails. Okay, let me say this in Bryan's defense. I'm not defending him from what he did to me or others. I'm defending those emails. Okay. Those emails come from emails that at first don't look like they're from Bryan. If you do a search on Bryan, on I think it's Spoko, or what did the police officer say? I'll look at those. One of those emails popped up. So that's used as evidence, as the police said, to go back and see if that legitimately came from Bryan, right? But it is an email that Bryan normally doesn't use. Granted.
There's the email address, and then there's the content in the email.
Yes.
Right? The content doesn't hold up either.
Correct. So, I don't know what to say other than those were, right? Those were sent by that email. And the police do have that. So...
That's the only thing that there's evidence of, that those messages were sent from that email. But there's no evidence that Bryan wrote that email. It's not from his email address. And reading the content, anyone that's had any interaction with Bryan, like, you can't read those.
Right.
And the syntax and grammar and the word usage and the sentence structure.
Right.
And the slang.
It's odd.
What's on?
No, it's odd.
I'm misunderstanding you.
Odd. Like,
it's odd.
It's odd.
Odd.
Yes,
Odd.
it's odd. It's odd, it's off, it's... The exchange that I usually have with Bryan is much more, how do I put this nicely? Professional, at least. I mean, sure, he's part of my English, but bad, but, he speaks in a very, I guess, British English. Long sentence structure is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And so I haven't seen a single thing. No, but it's being asserted that he wrote these.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not Bryan. And that's not Bryan's brother. And that's not true either. And look at all this stuff. So it makes people go back into everything else and go like, well, what is true? Show me a true assertion. And that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking questions, because I need to find any assertion that's provable.
Right.
Right? And you don't seem to be taking issue with my assertion that all the screenshots of the texts and the emails don't seem like anything that would be believable.
Okay.
So,
well, I can send you the recordings I have, and I can the police reports, obviously, case numbers, videos, number one.
I've seen a lot of videos, but the things that are said are spoken in the videos.
Yeah.
When I listen, I'm like, that's not what was said exactly.
So, like, you've watched Bryan talk in those videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the same statement to say that Bryan Davis talks, private messages to children about porn
Okay.
for 10 to 15 hours a week.
Okay.
When he says, I spend 10 to 15 hours a week on my forums, and some of these kids reach out to me with problems, such as pornography, cutting, mentioning serious problems that kids today are dealing with, that aren't the same problems kids used to be dealing with it because it wasn't so prevalent or easy access. So that's just, kids are reaching out to me with these concerns. It's very different from making a statement that Bryan Davis talks about porn and cutting with kids 10 to 15 hours, a week. Like, the statement doesn't match the assertion.
Okay.
And other things, like I was working with like Bryan Davis saying, I own the government.
Yeah, that is on there, and I was, I always went, okay, you're claiming to be him. Okay, interesting.
But it sounds like that claim comes from, like, looking at the 5th chapter of Astral Dragon, and I see Amanda saying, like, see, here he admits he works with the government. Like, is literally his fiction what you're relying on to make an assertion that he's working with the government, and that, Mike Pence is the biggest sex trafficker of all, and Brian's number 2, but
yeah, that was
like,
blown out of that was blown all
Davis,
the way.
You go like, he doesn't look like somebody who owns the government. He's not acting like somebody who owns the government. He's printing books and going to homeschool conventions to sell books in order to make money to support his family. And his home doesn't look like he's making all this other money from running a crime business.
Okay.
Like, the evidence isn't there when you look, right? Right. If you look at somebody's business who's got this crime enterprise that they've got their fingers out everywhere, he has people that are doing these things for him, then there's got to be a lot of money behind all that. And there's no evidence of that. Like, there's no evidence of having money or spending money or making money other than just selling books, right? You see somebody that's in a crime enterprise, you can tell by looking at them.
I'm hearing what you're saying.
So,
I'm hearing what you're saying.
I'm trying to do the math.
Let me ask you
and
this.
If there are 3 things...
Right, go ahead.
That you can... If there are 3 things, like, that you can show me...
Okay.
That accurately reflect the assertion from something that he said and not something somebody said he said.
Okay.
Right? I haven't seen anything yet with all that's been said. And I'm the time that I have, I'm looking into it.
Have you watched the entire video where he talks about me? The one that you talk about Michael Pence.
Well, there's more than one of every.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen an email. I've seen with some skipping through.
Oh, okay.
But 2 hours out of 3 potentially.
Yeah.
Of the angels.
Oh man.
It starts going back over old stuff. It's like she had new viewers or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I already heard this, right? She's going back to the beginning. Like, well, if you just tuned in, I'm like, I'm not going to keep listening to this, right? But
let me ask this, respectably, okay? If all of what I've said is false, okay? Let's play devil's advocate, right? My mom's a liar, apparently. Let's just play devil's advocate. Why did Bryan take the time to make these videos and literally try to go, nope, I'm not the trafficker, you're the trafficker, your mom's a trafficker?
That's what I haven't heard.
Okay.
I've heard him.
Okay.
I've heard him going on and saying, like, addressing allegations. Like, important. Right? I think 3 years ago, your YouTube, where it's just you.
Yep.
And you're talking.
Yep.
And I think it's like 6 months ago. Now, maybe if something's reposted that I only know the date of the date it was put on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But waiting 2.5 years to address allegations is more patience than I would have. But it sounds like other people were reaching out to him to, like, get his side, because he wasn't just going out, hi, I'm here on YouTube and I'm here to just talk about these allegations, and it's more somebody else saying, okay, so what's your side of the story?
Yeah, but I never really named him.
Oh, no, you did in the email and the video I heard of you, like, heart shares.
Heart shares. I said Bryan. I don't think I said Davis.
Okay, well, you might be right about that.
Yeah.
Heading into it, knowing whatever he's talking about.
Right. That was for me. I was terminally ill at that point, and I had to forgive and not forget. I stand by that. I remember that day. Yeah.
But it's an assertion that, it deserves to be proved if it's going to be stated.
Richard Douglas, who you I'll have him reach out. There's a lot of people that remember that day, so they can reach out if you want.
Well, no, I mean, he wasn't there, right?
Yes, he was.
It's just somebody else.
Yes, he was.
When you say there, he was where?
Dallas, Texas. I was in the hospital. I wasn't given long to live. I had a lot of anger towards, I'll be honest, right? Like my virginity being taken and all of that. My mom was gone, and Bryan caused a lot of anger in my heart. So the only way my doctor, who was a Christian, who went with me, the only way he thought that I could heal was to forgive. And so we went to where Bryan was, and the police were notified because my doctor was friends with police in Dallas, so there is a Dallas police report. And I shook Bryan's hand.
Forgive me, there's a brief moment that you, in your statement, you went to where he was. You went to where Bryan was?
Yes, I did.
And Bryan wasn't home. Bryan was somewhere else.
Yeah, he was at a church thing in Dallas.
Like a homeschool convention?
It wasn't a homeschool convention, but it was a church sort of event.
I was assuming he was selling books. That's why he travels and goes to those events.
Sort of. He was kind of preaching, but yeah. He does preach, if you didn't know.
And perhaps he's preached, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that he's not like a pastor at a church, but you don't have to be a pastor at a church to, on some occasion, preach.
Yeah. I've heard people call him a pastor, so I don't know how to address that one. But
neither do I, because I don't have an understanding of what's true. I just know, like right now, he doesn't have a pastor. He isn't a pastor.
Right? No. But he does. He does preach. He preaches on sinless philosophy. He believes that you can achieve a sinless life by not sinning.
Yeah, I've seen him argue that online.
Yeah.
In the Realm Makers,
yeah.
Not in the Realm Sphere, but in a, I think it was maybe his own consortium. But,
yeah.
And it was a very
heated,
long. I don't know. Some people might get heated, but when you're all online, go ahead, get heated. But keep your writings
right.
civil.
It was
right, but it was a civil. It was quoting scripture, like this is why I believe what I believe.
Right.
This is why I believe what I believe, and so
you're always going to have people that I tell my actors this, that are extremist when you bring religion in. Like if I'm working, let's use an example. If I'm working with a Muslim, they know I'm Christian. Obviously, you're not going to go. You're going to hell. You're going to respect them. You're going to love them, but it doesn't mean that you condone some of the things they believe. You respect each other's differences, okay? And you show decency and professionalism to anybody you work with. I can tell you that firsthand. I learned that the hard way.
Of course. We're getting
slightly
on a tangent. But
no, I'm sorry. So, Bryan...
it might have been my fault.
It's okay. So, Bryan... I'll make this part short. Bryan, I forgave him. I shook his hand. That's it. I stand by what I said. There was many people that saw what he said, and we left. And that was it.
May I ask what year that was?
Yeah, that was 2021.
So the question is, like, why wasn't that the end?
Oh.
Why are we here? Why are you in the Realm Sphere and reaching out to people and offering this information? Just
Because
throughout the
Bryan,
atmosphere.
because Bryan didn't stop. He could have ended it when I did that.
So that's what we need to. So like,
When I forgave him, I told him, I forgive you. I don't forget you. The past is the past, and we need to move on. I don't know if I'm going to live, but I got to make it right with God. I'm not you. I've done what God has told me to do, and I'm moving on. I release any power you have over me or have ever had, and I'm done. And that's it. And we walked away.
no, if everything you say is true, that's a healthy way for you to proceed.
That's what I needed to
guess,
do.
I suppose what we could talk about is what happened since then. That is the result of what I've seen in the realm sphere.
Yep.
Is you're reaching out and you're maligning him to I don't know how many people. I have no idea. I mean, I know you sent 1,200 direct messages in a 2-week time frame.
I never mentioned
In
Bryan.
early June.
I got to tell you that. I
I don't know what
Yeah,
you're
no,
saying,
I
but
never
I'm just
mentioned
saying,
Bryan. No.
I'm getting, so there's a degree to which, like,
No, I never made that
wanna know
about
what's
Bryan.
going on.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows that part.
Well, I know that's not true, that nobody knows, because I know at least one person was reached out to, and then later that information was offered. So I know that's true for at least
Gentlemen?
one person.
I hate to...
Well, I guess that makes it two.
Well, let's see. 1,200. No, because during that, I did not talk about Bryan. That was about the
I'm
crossover.
not saying that's when you did, but I'm saying that's what became an anomaly in the analytics that we get from the system. And go like, whoa, what's going on here? We just
Okay.
we go in, who's being active, who would be.
I was curious about that because basically it was an author and I going back and forth, pretty much every minute, going, oh no, let's not do that. Let's do this. Oh no, let's move this. Oh no, let's move that. So
And that's fine. I mean, that's certainly a valid use of the realm sphere.
yeah,
The context was, we're like, gee, who might we ask to be a host? We need some hosts.
well, I want you to,
And so we go to the analytics and we look at like, okay, well, who's active?
Right.
Who's already active?
Right.
And we might ask to like, hey, would you like to be a host, right? And so that rose to the top, and we knew you weren't nearly as active in like posts and things like that. But you had some interaction there, but it singles out different kinds of interactions.
right. And to be
Gentlemen,
fair,
I need to interrupt. I have to leave, so I have to hang up
Yeah.
the phone.
okay.
Okay,
So
I've
if you guys
got dinner.
can continue this, guy. If you guys can continue this on another phone call,
Scott,
all I have to say, if I came off the wrong way, and if it seemed like I accused you of anything, please accept my sincerest apologies.
Your tone was highly accusatory from the beginning. Like, let me ask you a question.
Well,
It was kind of an arrogant interrogator kind of tone of voice.
yes, and
So that was.
I am very sorry. I am sorry. I will admit that I was in the wrong there. From what I can see, what information was needed and what information was given was skewed. Not as in skewed as in that it was the wrong information. It was information that was needed, but was misunderstood in how it was given. And I actually understand that. I've had that happen. So, Scott, please forgive me. I am very sorry. That was my biggest concern, was coming off the wrong way. So I am very sorry. If you could please forgive me.
I certainly forgive you.
Thank you.
I think we will need to continue this another time, just because I believe dinner's going to be on the table in a moment.
Yeah. What I'll do, I guess these are long audios. I'll have Amanda send these, and then you need. And I reached out to
the things that you said was a video or a TikTok.
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
says what you say you said.
Yes.
I need to hear that. But
Okay.
An audio recording that I don't know who's talking and whatever they're saying.
That's the person.
If it's Bryan, I'd know it's Bryan. If it's
Right.
this is
Eric Penson, the person that talks about Bryan sending him to hurt Ryan. Yes, it's a phone call.
Yeah. See, that wouldn't be evidence of anything other than somebody saying whatever they want to say.
But they showed up to hurt Ryan. It's documented. It's been reported.
And I need that to accompany it.
That's fine. Okay.
I wouldn't want anything to happen to your son.
Yes.
But at this stage, with accusations flying, I need an accusation that can be proved.
That I can do because that's been documented. So that's fine.
But there's been so many accusations, and I'm looking and I'm asking. And when I asked for original emails, I'm trying to get to the truth.
Right.
And if you're going to be sending out assertions and not being willing to offer a true source of information that you've got to have if you forwarded it, you've got to have the original. Why wouldn't the original be sent? Well, when all of them are forwards, it engenders distrust when they're all forwards. Because that's falsifiable. The original email is not. You can take a screenshot. You can put it into Facebook or Adobe Acrobat, and you could try to change words possibly if somebody has that. But in a forwarded email, it's easy to just forward and retype what was there. So.
I did not know that. I have to be real truthful because I don't do email.
I didn't know that either, and I do email.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, if you go to an email and you forward it, you can just go down and change everything.
Really?
So I know Gabriel's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
And any of the words attributed to Bryan in any of those texts, that was not anything Bryan typed.
I agree with you on that, but it's still documented in the police report that they claim to be.
Well, falsified texts in a police report are still falsified texts. And they're what you sent, or what Amanda sent 2 days ago, as proof. So I don't know what you expect me to believe when the proof provided to prove assertions that are spoken.
I have to go. We're going to celebrate my brother's birthday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
You got it. Happy birthday.